Hey, everybody. How is everyone? Good. All right, I'm going to work on sharing my screen with you guys. Let's see. So I appreciate you all showing up here on time, and I'm looking forward to the new format. And I hope that you'll give me some feedback and participate. And if you have any questions, either write them down and wait until I'm done talking, or interrupt me if you're comfortable with that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Today, there's a couple things that I want to talk about. And I'm looking away because I've got a list. I want to teach you how to log into Command, which I hope you all know. Set up a contact, tag them, set up an opportunity, show you how to start a transaction there in the documents section, and talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to bring you over to starting a transaction in Docusign. And I'm not going to go too much further than that today, except that I do want to show you a couple of things in there as well. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm on Command. Can you all see my screen? Okay, great. All right, so I'm in Command right now, and I am in my personal profile. If you guys look up here where I just clicked on my name, you'll see that I have two accounts. I've got the Scotland team and I've got the personal account, and I'm on the personal account for today's purposes, but usually I'm in the team account. You guys are going to see that there's a PC, a productivity coaching account. We're not using that yet, so don't go in there. The reason why I'm not using it yet is because I'm not comfortable with the fact that if you set up your opportunities in there, you have to put your contacts for those opportunities also in there. And I'm not sure whether, so when you leave the program and you go back to working on your own without being in the program, then I have to figure out how to, who's leaving, who their contacts are, and how to send them back to them. So I just don't feel like they've got it worked out appropriately yet. And I'm not going to make you guys use that account until it is fixed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm going to go to contacts, and I'm going to show you how to add a contact, which is very simple. We're going to just click on this add a contact button, and we're going to put, I'll put myself in here. Actually, I'm going to put my sister in here so I can use her as an example throughout. And I'm going to put Sharon Olson.
That green dot up there. Does it tell you, does it have a microphone?
Sorry, are you talking to me?
Nope.
Okay. Just wondered, somebody was talking. I didn't know if they were asking a question. So she's already in here. I think that's why it won't let me put her in here again. Oh, there we go. Now, here is where you can add a relationship. So I'm going to do that. And as you can see, there's no relationship yet. So I'm going to add her husband and add him right here. And I can add more information about him later if I want to. For right now, I just want to do this. Then I would add her phone number and the lead source. So she's one of my allied resources. And I'm not going to add her to the sales pipeline just yet. I'm just going to leave this blank at this point, but I want to show you that there are tons of, if I can get to them, let's see.
Judy, I'm
Yes,
sorry. What is an allied resource? Like, if she's your sister, would she be your sphere or?
she could be my sphere, or there's a ton of different things that you can choose in here. And your allied resources can be whatever you want them to be.
Okay.
So for example, I might want all of my vendors that I do business with in there. For me, I always felt like allied resources were the people that bring me business.
Oh, okay. Thank
So
you.
if you're a member of my family and you've never brought me any business, I might not put you in here. But if you've brought me referrals, then you're definitely going to be in my allied resource checklist. But as you can see, and you see these little numbers, these little AWBE, that's a way of contacting your people, and that's another class. So I won't I won't talk to you about that too much today, but pretend she's going to be a buyer as well. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different ones, and you can also add your own in here. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to spend too much time on tags right now, but what I want you to know is that every single person in your contact list should be tagged somehow. And Anthony's going to be giving more classes about how to set up smart plans for people. And when he does that, you're going to need your contacts tagged. So make sure right from the beginning that you're tagging them.
Mark, I think it's about.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to opportunities now. Now, if you look at these little applets, I think they call them, on the side, this is how you get to everything in command. Or I could go up here and open up what it actually says, so I don't have to hover over it. For right now, I'm in opportunities. I've clicked this button here, and I'm going to create a buyer opportunity. So if you'll notice, it says create opportunity here, and I just clicked on that. I'm the owner, and I'm going to go and look for Sharon Olson because she's the person I just put in here. I've got her in here twice, so I don't know if that's a good thing or not. It shouldn't, we should never have anybody in there twice, but for today's purposes, it won't matter. So I picked the wrong one because she didn't have her husband in there. And this is not a listing. This is going to be, this is going to be a buyer. And I'm going to create it now. Hang on. Doesn't like what I did for some reason. Buyer. Just going to pick myself then. Okay, so now I've picked myself as a buyer, and I'm going to create an opportunity here. If it'll let me. Didn't go down far enough. Sorry about that. So it wants you to put in a commission in here, and I think they're jumping the gun a little bit, but we'll do that. And what I should have told you is we have to complete everything that's starred. So I'm going to make this an active buyer and searching. Okay. And then I'm going to create it. Sorry about that, guys. When I get in here, I'm just going to, so first thing I want to talk to you about now, you see how it's named Judy Scotland buyer right now. We're going to keep it that way until we actually have a property under agreement. Once we have a property under agreement with that buyer, we're going to change the name of the opportunity, and we're going to change the name of the room. It should always be the address of the property that they're buying. but not until you're under agreement. So we're going to go down into the details section and we're going to look and see if we've got everything in here right. And so that we feel that we do, we'll move on to the documents section. In the documents section, the first thing that you have to do is pick what type of a checklist you want. So because I chose a buyer opportunity, it's, and you just see, I checked, I clicked on the button that said pick checklist type, and this popped up. Mass residential buyer, New Hampshire residential buyer, commercial buyer, referral only, and Connecticut residential buyer. So I'm going to pick Mass residential buyer. Once you do this, you'll see that all of the mandatory and non-mandatory documents are going to pop up here. You're not going to use these documents, even though you can open this document and you can see what it looks like, and you can use it as a guide if you want to, or you can print it out from here. These aren't always the most up-to-date documents, though. If someone forgets to update a new document that comes out, this document might be an old document. So I would not myself use these, but here they are. And what is this form? Can anybody tell me what this form is?
Agency disclosure.
Agency disclosure form. And what's important about this form, Danya?
It distinguishes the relationship that you have.
And what about it is important as far as any of the other important documents go?
Well, it distinguishes the relationship between how you represent them, and also it lists things that you are not able to perform in it also.
That's true. And also, I'm mandated by the state of Massachusetts to present this at my first face-to-face meeting to discuss real estate with someone, right? And so this is not even an MLS thing or a Massachusetts Association of Realtors thing. This is required by the state of Massachusetts whenever, and it's not a contract, and it says it right here in bold. This is not a contract. So when you're presenting this to your clients to be at your first face-to-face meeting, this is mandatory. And they can say, listen, I don't want to sign that. Then you just go down here and check the box. But you have to present it. So this isn't a course about the forms at all. So I'm not going to harp on that for right now. And I just wanted to show you what it was. So now we have all the forms listed that we're going to need. Some of them say required, some of them say optional. Some of them are optional in certain situations and required in other situations. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go into the Facebook page, the mentoring and coaching, or coaching and mentoring Facebook page. And I want you to go to the files section, and I want you to get yourself a copy of this compliance checklist. And this checklist is going to help you to determine what documents you need for each type of property or each type of transaction you're working on. Okay. So for example, if I'm doing a listing consultation and it'll say mandatory or optional on the side here, or if applicable, I can tell every form that I need, and I can go put them in my room right away and make a check mark it once I have them signed, so that I know I'm in compliance and I'm going to get paid. Because the most important thing is that you guys get paid. And if we don't see that all the documents are there, in some cases we can be a little bit flexible, but mostly we need to have these documents in command. So once you have your documents, and I'm going to go back over to command now. Once we have your documents, we want you to add them into command as soon as they're signed. Why do you think that is? Does anybody want to take a shot at that?
Oh, You want to have it all in that way, everything is settled, and you're not trying to do everything last minute.
Yeah, that's right. And so when you're not in the mentoring program, so if you see here, you have 3 sections. You have a consultation folder, an under contract folder, and a closed folder. And as you complete your buyer documents, you should be able to submit the consultation folder, but you're not going to submit it because then it'll go to Linda and I'm going to be the one so you'll never click this button here that says submit to MC. Not as long as you're in the mentoring program. As long as you're in the mentoring program, you're just going to send me an email or a text and say, hey, Judy, my consultation folder in Judy Scotland Buyer is ready to be reviewed. And then I'll go in and review those documents and let you know that they're either all great and your folder has been approved, or I need you to do something different or in addition. So I want to do that as quickly as possible because we can get 2 of these out of the way and only be waiting for the closing disclosure, the CD, alter, and HUD at the end when you close. Once we put that in, then you can get paid if we've done everything else and I've reviewed everything else. So don't submit your folders, but do ask me to review them for you. Now, what's going to happen here? As I said, you're not going to get your documents from this command folder at all, ever. But where will you get your documents from? Does anybody know? I mean, I know you guys know. So who wants to tell me?
Docusign or your computer?
Yep, Docusign. How are you going to get them from Docusign? What are you going to do next?
Sync transaction, the button on the top.
Right here, start transaction.
Yeah, sorry, start.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
now I'm-
once I click this the first time, the next time it's going to say sync the transaction or go to the transaction. There'll be 2 buttons here. But for right now, because I've never attached it to Docusign yet, I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to select Docusign here. And it's going to bring me right into Docusign. Okay. So now that I'm in Docusign, let's talk about what to do next. So you can see that it named my room. And if I go back to the command folder later on and I go to details and I change this, I'm going to edit this and say that I put 123 Main Street under agreements. So now my opportunity name can change, right? And I can change this to 123 Main Street, Leominster. I can spell. Yes. 01453. And then if I save that, look what happens. Now my name, my opportunity name has changed, right? And if I then go into documents, and now you can see that instead of saying start a transaction, it says sync the transaction. And I'm going to close this because I want to do it again. It says sync transaction or go to transaction. If I sync the transaction and update it, then let's go see what happens in Docusign. And it might not do it until I log out and log back in. But what it's going to do eventually is it's going to change the name up here too. And if it doesn't change the name for some reason, I can go into the details section and I can click on edit. And now I can change this one to 123 Main Street, Leominster, S. 01453. The reason that I have to do that, guys, is because in our office, we have agents that sell in New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island. I'm not sure about Rhode Island. I'll say New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Massachusetts right now that I know of. And so it gets confusing if we don't put the complete address in there. So now we're up to date. I can go in here and I can make sure that I edit this area and put all the information in here, which I should do. So because Kathy is a buyer, or, oh, it's Judy. Because Judy is a buyer, all of her information should go in here. jscotland@comcast.net, blah, blah, blah. And then the buyer agent information will go in here as well. So this is going to auto-populate for us. So the more information you put in this details section, the more it will auto-populate into your documents.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
Should you always sync first before you go to transaction once it's given you as an option?
I do. I always sync.
Okay.
Absolutely. That was a great question. Thank you. So always sync first, and then you'll be sure that everybody's on the same page. So now I'm going to go into documents. And I haven't added any documents yet, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to Docusign forms. You could get your documents from different places too. You could get documents. Oh, so say you created your documents, you printed them out and you have them wet signed or signed in person. You could scan them back in to your hard drive someplace, your desktop, and then you could bring them in from your computer as well. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go set up my documents. Again, I can go over here to my compliance checklist and I can say, I need all the buyer documents. So what am I going to need? Well, I'm going to need the mandatory agency disclosure. I'm going to need a buyer agency agreement because I always use a buyer agency agreement. Does anybody want to talk to that? Who uses a buyer agency agreement? Anybody want to pipe in?
I do.
Okay, tell me why and what would be a good reason to do that?
I know it's not mandatory, but when you start to spend so many hours with a buyer and now you have basically nothing besides the agency disclosure, not saying nothing, but like you can have the conversation with your buyer saying like, hey, like, you know, this is a designated agency. Like I only work with you, please only work with me. But when something you hand somebody a piece of paper, sometimes either A, it scares them, or B, it's binding in the sense of like there's just more duties to each other, like fiduciary duties and whatnot. And it's like, for instance, I had a deal that my buyer went rogue and found something on their own, but because we had our contract, like if I wanted to be a dingleberry, I could have like sued her or something, but I didn't. And she's like, well, I still want to give you something. It's my fault. I went rogue. And it was just kind of nice because she's like, I know we have a contract. So it makes people sometimes a little more aware. Granted, if you're not taking care of your client the way you should be, then it brings up a whole issue against you because it's like, well, you have a buyer's contract. You were supposed to be, you know, reasonable care and lawful obedience. And it's kind of more, if you don't want as much structure as on your relationship and you don't want to be as responsible for a client. Like some people are like, no, I don't want to have that agreement. Like I'll just show you things and we'll go from there. But I like having more structure personally. So I enjoy having a contractual relationship with somebody.
Right. And you know, not that you're ever going to take them to court, but you could. However, you're going to spend more money trying to get your commission than you will probably to take them to court. It
You
just
look like a jerk.
it gives them a mindset of, I signed this and I'm supposed to be loyal. So I'm going to do that. So anyway, these are the documents that we're going to put in there. We're going to put 1, 2, 3. Now, here's the thing though. If we actually do the exclusive buyer agency agreement, which one of these do we need? Do we need the buyer disclosure form? Nope, we don't, because look, it says here, use this form if no exclusive buyer agency. So we're going to use the financial privacy form instead.
You also told me this, and I'm just maybe clarify it too. The buyer agency agreement, if you find a for sale by owner, so that allows you to not go into MLS, but actually find a deal for them. Is that right?
Yeah. And still get paid. because the buyers agreed to pay you. And one of the things that I always put on that form says that if I'm getting paid through MLS and through a cooperating compensation, I don't charge the buyer the success fee. But if I'm not getting paid, then the buyer is responsible for my success fee, and they know that in advance. So they know if I'm showing them a for sale by owner, it could actually happen that the seller refuses to pay, and then the buyer will pay me.
What about like always putting in something about, you can withdraw, either party can withdraw this agreement?
Yep, I usually say either party can cancel anytime before an accepted offer or something like that. And in the sample package, it has wording for you if you choose to use it. So, but if I do have that exclusive buyer agency agreement, I'm only going to use the financial privacy form. I'm not going to use the buyer disclosure form. And then I'm going to use the home inspector's fact sheet and the escrow wire policy. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 documents that I need to go and find. So let's go back in here and let's look at what we need. So I can either go into my groups and get listing or buyer documents, buyer client consultation forms. Let's see what that has. Well, let's see. Somebody read off to me, or somebody tell me which ones they think I need. All right, I'll do it. I need the escrow wire policy. I need the financial privacy form because I'm going to use the exclusive. I don't need that KWNC buyer disclosure form, but I do need the mass mandatory. I don't need these yet. I do need the facts for consumers. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many did I say I needed? 5, right? So I've found my 5 forms and I'm going to add them. Now they're here. I'm not going to go into each how to fill these out right now, but you are going to fill them out in here, some of them. For example, this one, there's nothing to fill out on this. So you'll see that you don't have to do anything while it's in the form section of this one, because all it needs is a signature, and that happens in the envelope, not in the documents folder. You guys get that? So one of the ones that I will have to fill out though is this mass mandatory agency disclosure, we lovingly call it. And I'm going to be a buyer's agent, right? And I'm going to be a designated agent and a buyer agent. I'm never going to touch this side right here. This company does not use this. We could cross it out on all of them if we wanted to. And I'm not a broker, so I'm going to click on salesperson, and I'm talking to the buyer, so I'm going to fill in their name here. And then I'm going to finish filling this out, and I'm going to save it and close it. And we're not going to do that right now. We're not going to fill out all these documents right now. But what you need to know is this is for the preparation in documents. And then when we're getting ready to add our signatures, we have to go to envelopes. So I'm going to select all these documents and pretend that we filled them all out. And then as you can see, when I checked off these documents, this toolbar popped up here. I'm going to create an envelope. Slowly but surely. And I'm going to change this to buyer documents. And then what I'm also going to do is I always like this form to be first because I know I'm mandated by the state to get this one filled out. So I want to have that one there first. The second one that I'm going to have in place is the exclusive. And then it really doesn't matter what the other 3 are. Now, I could also pull in a template if I wanted to use a template and add it to this envelope, but I'm not going to do that right now. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, please DocuSign is fine if you want to leave that there. And I'm going to put a little message. Please review buyer documents here and sign unless you have questions, then let's chat. Anything, you can put whatever you want there. And then I'm going to go and add recipients. I like to do it from pre-tagged roles. And I'm going to put the buyer, the real estate licensee, the consumer, and the buyer agent, buyer broker. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select Judy Scotland at Comcast, J Scotland, whatever it is. Oops, I don't have buyer two. Real estate licensee is Judy Scotland at KW. And consumer one is the Comcast one. And then the buyer broker is the KW one. Normally you wouldn't have the same person in here, of course. So then I'm going to add those people, right? And when I do that, so you guys are going to always add me here. First of all, what I should have done is told you when you're in documents, in the documents folder, you're going to add me to your room by going into people and inviting me. And I'm going to be an agent owner just like you. And so now I'm in your room, but you're also going to add me here. And so one of these would be me. If you look over here on the left, you can change the way people see these. So for example, Judy Scotland's number 1 and Judy Scotland, the consumer, is number 2 and the buyer broker is number 3. I could put that person back to 1 again so that the agent gets it first and the consumer gets it second. So you always want to put me first so that if I look at it and say, oops, let's make a change, your buyer hasn't already signed it. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so now that I've done that, now I can hit my next button. When I hit my next button, now I can go in and there's just a couple of things I want to show you here and then we'll be done and we can just, you can ask questions or whatever. So now all of my documents are in one email basically. And you can see that it added the signatures for me on the places that it knew by me assigning people as consumer 1, buyer broker, whatever it was, it automatically populated where they're supposed to sign. And this would have been completely filled out had I done that in the documents section, but I was just showing you where it was. And if you get in here and something's not here, you can add it. So we'll go to another, pretend we filled this form out and pretend that, so see, these are all pre-populated for us, but let's go into this one. This facts for consumers form, it never populates with the initials, so we have to add it. So I'm going to add initials right here. And when I do that, you're going to see that that's assigned to Judy Scotland. Well, they're all Judy Scotland, but this should be Judy Scotland, the buyer, that is getting this. So on every page of that consumer one, we're going to add Judy's initials. And it's simple to do. Okay, so now I've got them all completed. And all I have to do is click the send button. And that should go to every person that it needs to go to. But because you made me number one, it's going to come to me first. And then I can look at it and say, yeah, we need to add this here, or you might want to do this. And then you can make the change and you're good to go. So I think that's all I want to teach you today. Let me just look at some questions that I had. We've got compliance. Oh, here's the other thing. As soon as these come back and they're fully signed, these buyer documents, make sure you put them in your opportunity in command. So one of the reasons why we want to keep command up to date, say we're a listing agent and we put a property under agreement, but we haven't even touched command yet. And I got to tell you, that happens all the time. The front office does not have a clue who to credit that deposit with, or even let you know that it's here. Especially if the buyer forgot to state the address. But what happens is usually the buyer will fill out the check, and in the memo section, they'll put down 123 Main Street, Leominster, Mass. And so they'll go into command and they'll look up 123 Main Street, Leominster, Mass. And if you haven't changed over to that opportunity name, instead you still have the buyer's name, they won't even be able to find it. They won't even have a clue where it goes or who it should be credited to. So command is really important. Staying on top of that is really important. That's all I have about this stuff. And so I'm going to stop share. And I'm going to ask you guys if you have any questions. Or did you all know this? Are you all comfortable with all of this already? Yes, no?
I have a question about the, you said that it comes to you first.
Mhm.
So you're saying that if, and so how, I'm just confused that it comes to you first. I get that it comes to you first, you're first on the list, but that doesn't mean that my buyer wouldn't sign it. Because he's gonna get it at the same time, right? When you hit send, everyone gets it.
No, that's not true. If you have those little numbers on the left-hand side, it depends on what you say. If you say I need to view it first,
Yeah.
then I'm going to see it. Once I open it, then it's going to
Oh.
send. However, so that's why it's important for me to get a hold of you right away if there are changes once I open that.
So we should just alert you that we are ready to send something because you may be doing something and you're not available 24/7 to us. So I'm getting ready to send this. So
Yeah, and the
tell
other
me if it's
thing
a good time.
yeah, the other thing you can do if you really want to is you can just send it to me, and when I approve it, then you can copy the envelope and then send it out to your clients.
Okay, I think that's good too, because,
If you prefer to do it that way, I'm okay with that.
okay, because you have caught some things that were needing to be fixed. So, and it's really hard to fix something once it goes out. So,
Well, it's not all that hard. You can fix stuff after it's gone out. And do you guys know how to do that? Let me show you. So let me go back in here. And let's send this. Luckily, it's all going to me, so nobody has to be like, what is this? You see how it says needs my signature? That's pretty good too, but do you see where it says correct? I should be able to go in here now and correct stuff before you actually sign it.
Got the edit signing.
Yes,
That's what I was doing today.
edit signing fields. Thank you. Thank you, Steph.
That's only from doing it today.
So now I can go in here and I can make corrections. And then I can continue. And I've already sent it out. So they're gonna get another copy, or they're gonna get a new email that says with the corrected information. Okay? Does that help, guys? Okay, great. Okay, does anybody have any other questions about any of the stuff that I just taught you? So how I want to do this is a little bit differently now. I don't want to put anybody on the spot and go around the room anymore. What I want to do is I'm going to ask you if you have any questions about anything, or you have any successes or challenges that you want to talk about, and it doesn't have to be on any particular subject. Just let me know and we'll have a conversation. If not, it's going to be a short meeting. So who wants to talk?
I have a question.
Who's, oh, is it Sarah? Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, hi. Hi. Sorry. Rinsing raw chicken off my fingers before I
Oh.
go to the computer.
Yeah, salmonella.
Yeah. Okay, so my question was, oh my goodness, my computer's not starting. Anyway, I think I can ask it without having it in front of me. I have never done an offer, never written an offer before on a property that needed the lead paint disclosure. And you looked over my stuff and reminded me that I need to do that. And so I was going through it, and the two, since I don't have it in front of me, forgive me, but
That's
the
okay.
two boxes that I can have my buyers check, the two boxes, is which one should, like, I know it's up to them, but how should I advise them, like, which one to?
Okay, so I usually have a conversation with, you're the buyer's agent?
Yeah.
Okay, so I usually have a conversation with the buyers ahead of time and talk about it, so that I
Okay.
can add the initials wherever they need to go, or check the boxes wherever they need to go as well.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
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 So can I just share my screen for a second with you guys and go back to Docusign and hang on, I got to finish my thought there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the documents, and I just want to add that lead paint document so that I can show you on there. Here we go. So you would not fill out a blank as a buyer agent, of course, but when the listing agent fills out the lead paint disclosure, they're either going to say that there's known lead-based paint, or the seller has no knowledge. I'm going to tell you probably 99% of the time the seller has no knowledge. That's what they say. And then that's A and double I that they've checked off. And the seller, in this case, if they say that, then they always say that the seller has no reports or records. So 99% of the time, that's what they're going to say. In that case, your buyer's initials need to be added to D, E, and F. Now, if they came up here and they checked off known lead-based paint, and that the seller has provided certain documents, and they'll be checked off here, then you would fill out C, which says that the buyer received all the copies, or if they haven't, then you're gonna fill out D. But they should have posted those with the lead paint notification. So in MLS, if you're taking a listing and you have the need, because the house is older than 1978, to put one of these documents in, and they say they do know there's lead paint and they have reports, you should be posting those with the listing so that you would have those. And in which case, if you had them, you would fill out C, E, and F. But for this, for the 99% times, it's going to be seller has no knowledge and seller has no reports. And then you're going to have your buyer's initial D, E, and F, and then they have to choose. They're either going to check off received a 10-day opportunity, which everybody should check that box unless they waive the home inspection clause. If they're waiving the home inspection clause, then they probably want to waive the risk assessment opportunity as well. So you need to have that conversation with them prior to sending this for signatures so that you know how to check, what to check off for them. Because they never check it off properly if you send it to them and ask them to do it. So you'll have a conversation and say, okay, I'm going to send you this lead paint disclosure. And the seller has basically said that they don't have lead paint, or they don't know of any lead paint in the property, and they have no reports. So in that case, we're going to initial purchaser or lessee has received no documents. They have received the lead paint notification, because here it is right here. And they've received one of these options below. Either they received a 10-day opportunity to have a risk assessment done, or they've waived the opportunity. So you're going to check one of those boxes. Then as a buyer's agent, you're going to initial right here under H that you have verbally informed them about the possible presence of dangerous levels of lead paint in the plaster, putty, or other structural materials, et cetera, et cetera. You really need to read this to them. That's what you're initialing that you've done. So read it to them. And then they will sign as purchaser and you will sign as agent. The one thing you need to make sure of is that the property address is listed right down here on the bottom line. If anything doesn't get this, and I'm a stickler for this document. I'm kind of a stickler for all the documents, but this one especially, because if this document is filled out incorrectly and the auditors come in and audit you, they can charge you $11,000 for every mistake that you make. So I think you should thank me for being such a stickler.
That's the one that scares me the most.
Huh? That's the one that
scares
scares
me
you?
the most when people mess up the most.
Yeah, it should. Absolutely.
I had an agent from Cleveland send me one of those today. Guess what? It was wrong.
What?
It's the same form. In Cleveland, Ohio, somebody sent me one. It was wrong.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, from other agencies, from other market centers and other real estate offices, many times they come and they're wrong. And so what do you do if the listing agent didn't complete it properly? Are you supposed to not say anything? Because it's really not your job to monitor what they're doing. What do you think?
My thought process behind that is, if I don't say anything now, I'm signing a document that's wrong, which means I'm wrong too.
And you'll get fined. They don't care whose job it was to fill it out correctly. But if you're one of the agents, you're getting fined.
I have one more question about that.
Yep.
So on the offer, just I'm thinking about like how crazy everything is right now. And I know my clients right now have young children. They are for sure going to want to know if the house that they're putting an offer on has lead paint, but it might not stop them from buying the house. So should I, if they want me to, like, is there a standard way to like put into the offer, like lead paint test for informational purposes only? Like, I know sometimes that's a thing for home inspections, but would you do that for just the lead paint?
So
if that's the case.
Here's the
Like,
thing, and this is kind of just my personal philosophy, and I hope that at least Jason will pipe in and give me his opinion once I give mine. So my opinion is, first of all, when people put home inspection, lead paint inspection, whatever it is, for informational purposes only, when is that ever really true? And what does that even mean? If I say for informational purposes only, what does that mean? It doesn't say that I'm going to still buy the house if I find some major defect. It just says I'm just having it for information. So if I say I'm going to do a home inspection for informational purposes only, and I do the home inspection and I find out that the foundation is crumbling below it, do you think that I'm going to, for a moment, worry about the $1,000 I might lose because I said for informational purposes only? Nope, I'm not. And all the listing agents out there worth their salt know that. So it's okay. I mean, it is giving the seller the idea that ideally we're not going to use this home inspection against you. And we don't have any intentions of doing that, but come on. It's not real. So if I waived my home inspection totally, that is a step stronger than even for informational purposes only. Either you're waiving it or you're not. Don't pretend you're waiving it by saying it's for informational purposes, because every listing agent in the world knows that if something really bad comes back, your buyer will not hesitate to walk away from that $1,000 they put down. So that's just my personal opinion, though. I don't know if Jason was able to listen or not.
I missed half of that because the phone call came in.
What do you
heard
think
what-
about informational purposes only?
It depends on how much money you're putting down. So like a trick we use in the investment world is I'm going to say that I'm going to give you a cash offer, no home inspection, but I'm going to do one, but it's just for me. But I put $500 down. I don't pay the home inspector. I go there, but then all I have to do is walk away from $500. It's not a big deal. It's cost of doing business. Doing it enough times over and over is horrible, but I know a lot of agents don't like the informational thing. You got to put your money where your mouth is when you do that. Is my thought process. There's got to be a couple grand on the table. You're still going to walk away. You're not going to ask for anything.
It's gotta be
Otherwise-
more than a couple of grand, right, Jason? Think
Yeah,
about it. Because if
mean-
I find something that's worth $25,000, $30,000 on my informational only inspection, I'm not gonna be worrying about that $2,000 versus the 25 or 30. I'm gonna save
I like
myself by walking away.
I like to see, instead of informational only, something that says basically like, we'll not ask for any repairs unless it's over a such amount, a couple $1,000 or whatever. So
That's
I mean,
more-
I know you're not nickel and diming me. Because informational only, I've had people repair stuff when I put that language in. Because
Yeah.
I go back to them and go, okay, here, I'm walking away because of this. And they say, you know what, never mind, I'll repair it.
Yeah,
Lawyers
exactly.
hate that language. It means nothing, they said.
It means nothing. It doesn't even say what happens. Why do you need information? Wait until you close and then get your information. If it doesn't mean anything, why do you need to do it before the closing?
I had an interesting thing when I put an offer in a couple weeks ago. I put in information only in there, but I said, but my client retains the right to terminate this agreement as said in 6B. And the listing agent called me, didn't realize that was my offer, and she started bitching about it. Oops, sorry, complaining. And she said, I can't believe this guy put in, but retains the right to walk away. He just told me that he wants to walk into this deal. I was like, that's an interesting thought process behind it.
Yeah,
So but it's hard. Like the inspection, you have to do something with the inspection. You can almost get nothing accepted right now, the full inspection.
yeah,
If you say, I want to inspect, people, no, that's good. I'm good.
yeah. Well, because, I mean, if you're getting 10 offers, you know that some of them are coming through with no home inspection contingency at all. And saying for informational purposes as a listing agent, that means nothing to me, honestly. I'd rather have you say the buyer agrees not to address any items under a number, 10,000, 5,000, whatever it is. At least I know you're being honest with me. You're not, oh, I'm just gonna, it's not you, it's me. I'm just gonna have this inspection, but don't worry, because I'm not gonna walk away or ask you to do anything. Why have it then?
The fun part too is you get a reputation.
You get a
Same.
reputation.
This industry is very tight, and even though there's like 10,000 of us running around, if you're a person that always does that and then asks for things, or if you're a person that comes in and the one old trick that drives me up a wall is they put in a full price offer, but they don't want to pay full price, so then they start trying to crush you at the home inspection and find
Right.
anything and then they bring it down. So you know those agents, and you may have a higher, if you're one of those agents, for example, and you may have a higher offer, but I won't take your highest offer because I know I'm going to have a hell of a time, and also I know that's not your real offer.
That's right. Yeah, and that happens all the time.
So-
Agents try to get you away from the competition by offering these crazy prices, and then they try to renegotiate at the home inspection.
So that made me think of another question that I have along the same lines. On the offer that I'm working on right now, the MLS listing says no repairs in the firm remarks. So they're not doing anything,
Mhm,
no matter what home inspection.
mhm.
That's should I write something about that in the offer? Should I say
No,
buyers understand that blah 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 blah, or
No.
no?
I
Okay.
don't think so. What does your home inspection clause say? I mean, are you putting in a home inspection clause?
I mean, I just on the just what it says on the offer to purchase.
Okay, so you're putting in a date in that blank space.
Yes.
Then just leave it at that.
Okay. All right.
Anybody else have questions or stories they want to tell us today, or anything they want to chat about? Danye?
Julia, yes, hi.
Hi.
So I was late for the meeting. I had a hard time getting on, and it said it was recording. So where can I find this meeting afterwards? So I can get off that I missed.
I'm gonna put it on my YouTube page, and I'll post the link to it on the coaching page in Facebook.
Thank you.
You're welcome. James, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I just have a couple of things. So I have a potential listing. Here's a question for you. Potential listing, and I went to see the property, and it's two homes, right? Kind of like what Mark had up in Groton, like two different buildings, right? And one of the buildings, the first one you see, the roof is junk. It's like it totally needs a new roof, right? And they even mentioned it to me, and I looked at the roof and I was like, oh my God, you can tell it needs a new roof. So if someone comes in and inspects it, they're gonna say, oh, the roof, So the lady called me up, and she says, hey, should I repair that roof? Should I do that? Should I put a new roof on there, before we put it on? It's the one that's in probate right now. So it's not listed right now, it's in probate. And she just called me right before this. I mean, literally like 30 minutes before. And I said, well, let me check for you, probably wouldn't be a good idea, but I want to make sure. So I thought I'd ask you, Judy, how you feel about it.
I'll give you my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'll also ask you a question. Is the roof
Okay.
leaking?
No.
Okay. I guess my opinion would be that if there's a lot of deferred maintenance on a property that is being listed, the value may be affected by that. And if it's not leaking,
Yeah.
I mean, most lenders want to say, is there at least a year and a half left on that roof's lifetime? If it's leaking now, then there isn't. and it might need to be addressed. Otherwise, it depends. It really
Okay.
does. But if there's a lot of deferred maintenance on a property,
Right.
then the value, in my opinion, is going to go down. How do you
So
feel
here-
about that, Jason?
Yeah, and this, my thought process, one, the roof is outside, so deferred maintenance, the roof is the first thing you see, so it's first impressions. So people are gonna make an impression about the rest of the house's upkeep based on the outside they see there. Also, the modern home buyer wants the flip, they want the HDTV, they want the granite countertops and stuff. So it's one less, my thought is fix it, it's one less hurdle you have to deal with. Because a bunch of people are gonna walk up, look at the house and go, ooh, roof's dead. Then they'll look
Yeah.
inside and, oh, I can get by that, okay, cool. Oh man, the boiler's kind of old too. So now
Right.
I have two things I have to replace in the next 5 years, and I have $15,000 worth of stuff. If they
by
have
the way-
get a good first impression.
Yeah, and by the way, when people look at, they're gonna look at that roof first. That's gonna be the first thing they see.
It
And
is the
so-
first house they see, yeah.
They're going to be now on their radar for looking for deferred maintenance issues is going to be up, right? So they're gonna be like, oh, if the roof's old, the furnace is old, the water heater's old, who knows what else? I mean, they're gonna be expecting everything to be dated, and maybe
this
it's
is al-
not.
Okay, and then the other part of the equation is that tomorrow is they're going to have the Title V septic inspection tomorrow. And she said, well, what happens if it fails or if it comes with a condition, you know? And I explained to her, I said, well, if it fails, I said, you have a couple of options. You know, you can replace it, which is very expensive. She knew that. I said, and the only other option is if you don't, you'd have to go for a cash buyer, you know, and that would limit your options. Would that be-
Or a rehab buyer.
Right.
If they get rehab financing, they can buy it.
Right. So,
And they're going to, say they're gonna get 3 estimates for the repairs or the replacement of a septic system. And if it's on the water, like I think the one you're talking about is,
yes,
it's gonna be on the high side. But guess what? If you say they've got estimates between $20,000 and $30,000, your buyers are gonna take 50 off at least. Because they're not gonna believe that, and they're gonna be right.
right. So what you
she's-
say.
So
what
I
you're
would be
sa-
more inclined to replace or repair a septic system than even a roof, frankly.
Right. Yeah,
That's, my thought would be, if the septic dies, the roof is dead and stuff like that, you might want to think about just getting a cash buyer in there. Like how much time they put,
Well,
because
you
the septic's gonna cost 20 to 30, and that doesn't count the couple grand they're gonna have to put into getting ready to get the septic in. I think you need about $3 grand between perk test and designing the septic and stuff like that. Then you gotta put it in, and then you gotta do the landscape on the back end. So it usually ends up around $40,000, so all said and done.
But now it becomes a flip. And it's only gonna, it's going to appeal to flippers, right?
The septic fails, you call me, man.
Yeah.
I will help you out just for you.
Yep. And
Um,
by the way, when we bought our house, we're on the water and it had a failed septic system and the seller agreed to put the new septic system in. It was a foreclosed property, so the seller was a bank. And they had an estimate of $35,000 for the septic system, and it actually came in at $58,000 because it was on the water and the groundwater was so high. So you never know.
okay. I just have one more thing and then that's it. The other listing I have, potential listing, I don't have it, was, remember I told you I wanted to get my car fixed and I gave them my card. They said, oh, my mother's gonna sell her house and everything. And I talked to the mother and I gave her CMA and all that. And she asked me, you know, we were having a conversation. I had her sign the form, the one that says not a contract. And she asked me how much does it cost to sell it? I said 6%. She goes, oh, okay. I said, yeah, that's what it is, because I usually give, 2.5 to 3% to the buyer's agent. So that's just the cost of doing business. She goes, oh, okay. And then I went to get my car and I was talking to the daughter and, she didn't even mention it. And I go, hey, when's your mom getting ready to sell her house? Oh, she's cleaning it out and they're hiring a landscaper and this and that. So she's not ready yet, probably sometime around mid-July. And I'm still thinking that they're going to go with me. And then I said, so is your mom going to list with me? Is she going to choose me as a listing agent? And then she says, well, I don't know, because the agent that she used before that she doesn't really like only charged her 3.5%. So then the next time I went up, I talked to the mom. I was like, yeah, your daughter said that you didn't like the 6%. She goes, no. And her whole disposition changed. She goes, no, I didn't. She goes, the other lady only charged me 3.5. And she goes, then I went to my mechanic who sold his house. And he said that he had an agent too that did 3.5%. And I was just like, wow, I guess I could probably go down to 4, and split the difference. But I really wasn't sure what to say, I wasn't expecting that, is what I'm trying to say to you, Judy.
Well, I
So
guess the
my
first
question
thing,
to you is, how would you have handled that?
I guess the first thing that I would ask is, are you sure that they're not charging you, that they're only telling you it's 3.5%, because that's what you're paying them, and then you're going to pay the buyer agent another 2.
Right. Okay.
Don't
Yeah,
know
I thought
whether-
of that too. Yeah. Yeah.
There could be
I
no
would
way.
want, and I would say, listen, you get what you pay for. And
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to do for you for the 6%. I'm going to make sure that we get you the highest amount we possibly can. I use stagers, I use professional photographers, whatever it is that you do. And I'm more likely to get you a higher price for your property because this is my marketing plan. And I don't go down. I do have a graduated commission structure, and I just give it to them. And I say, this is my commission structure. Take it or leave it, basically.
Okay.
So you can do what you want, but you could be chasing that commission down. I mean, if they really are selling it for 3.5%, and then they've got to pay a co-broke out of that 3.5%, that's crazy. I'm not working for that kind of money. You,
Yeah.
Jason?
No, you gotta ask, do you value yourself or what you value
Yep.
time?
As
If you're
soon
gonna
as,
get, think about at least 2, so that's 1.5%. So you're gonna walk home with, I don't know what this house is worth, but walk home with a couple grand and all the frustration of selling a house. And you could be using the time for something else, like more lead generation too. Just don't
Yeah.
know you're worth more. Don't compete with the discount agents. They want a discount agent, you explain to them why they're a discount agent. And then I take pictures with a cell phone instead of with a professional photographer, which is gonna kill their entire deal. But I say, okay, I let them know this is what I do and this is why I charge this, and I'm good at what I do. You gotta be confident. And if you want to go with a discount agent, if that doesn't work, feel free to give me a call.
and as soon as you're confident and you bring up the commission structure and you say, this is my commission structure, and you don't waver, they don't even ask you anymore to lower it.
Right.
Honestly. So, I mean,
I was surprised. So, it caught me by surprise.
yep.
I
it's
think
good.
Lisa's, Judy, I
Thank
think you're
you.
right. That 3.5 is what they're charging. Then they go, okay, we'll also do the buyer too.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know anyone that works under 4.
I don't know anybody who's going to work for 3.5% and then pay a co-broke. I really don't.
Right. Doesn't make sense.
No,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else have anything they want to chat about today?
Did we change the TRID recently? Because I was writing up an offer over the weekend and the integrated mortgage addendum looks completely different. I still filled it out and had the seller's agent sign it, but it looks very different from the forms I'm used to using.
So they do change them all once in a while. I don't know why, you know, if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
But usually the most up-to-date ones are in Docusign because they come directly from where they're made. So whatever you have, if you got it from Docusign, should be
Mhm.
the most up-to-date one.
Perfect. From the templates folder.
Um,
Awesome.
I don't know about the templates
Shared with
folder.
me?
It should be the same as in the forms folder.
Okay, perfect. It was like the shared with me. So I guess shared. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Anybody else? All right, guys, would you all do me a favor and on the coaching page, give me some input and feedback about how you like this format, and any suggestions that you have for subjects would be greatly appreciated as well. So I'd love it if you'd take a second and go do that. Otherwise, we'll keep doing it the way we're doing it. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate you coming, and I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Oh, actually, next week I'm on vacation. So unless I find a volunteer to run Coaching Corner, I'll let you know, but I will probably cancel it if I can't find a volunteer. So we'll see what happens, but thank you so much for coming, and I love having this every week with you. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.